Welcome back to the I Am More Than podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Wessel. I'm a former Miss Arizona USA professional model and founder of More Than Inc. This week's episode is going to be a solo. I'm diving into all things mental health, negative self-talk, and quarantine routines. It's a packed episode with a lot of really good tips and tricks that you can apply to your own life. So let's go ahead and dive in. What's up, guys? I hope you're all doing well and that you're hanging in there right now. I decided I wanted to do a solo episode for this week's podcast because the whole reason I started this company and this podcast was to be real and raw and transparent with you. And I feel like I've just had a lot on my heart and on my mind the last couple days, and I want to connect with you guys. The reason that I bring on these partners and I share my story and their stories is because I feel like their obstacles and the lessons they've learned and the tools that they can give you are impactful, that you can apply them into your own lives and learn something from all of the women that we've presented to you guys. And I think that there's been a lot that I've gone through in the last year that I've really had to sit and think the last few days and realize kind of how far I've come, why I've come this far because of the different changes that I made in my life. And I wanted to kind of let you guys in on my little secret world. So the first thing I want to cover is this topic of self-talk, because I think that it's underestimated how powerful our self-talk is. And words are so much more than just words, whether that's us talking to other people or the way that we talk to ourselves. We really have to be aware of what's being said, both consciously and subconsciously, because the way you think shapes what you say, shapes how you act, shapes the way you view yourself. And I really came to know this concept very well about this time last year because I decided to start therapy. It's been almost a year now, and I remember just where I was at mentally this time last year, and I was constantly having days where I just felt overwhelmed. I had a lot of anxiety, and it was interesting to me because I've always been somebody that struggled with anxiety, but I always thought that once I get to a certain level in my career, or once I get to a certain apartment in New York, or once I get to a certain level of my relationship with Brendan, then we'll be happy. And I found myself last year having everything that I had wanted and prayed for, but still not feeling fulfilled. And I really wanted to figure out why that is, because I'm somebody that is always trying to better myself and be the best version of myself. And I was applying all of these self-help and self-care tips into my life, but I still had that feeling of unfulfillment. And I really wanted to figure out why. And so I read that quote, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. And I felt like that's what I was doing because I was using all of the tools I'd learned and resources and trying to make changes on my own, but it wasn't working. And so I knew that I had to switch up what I was doing to get a different result. And what I came down to was that I wanted to try therapy. That was the first time in my adult life that I would be taking myself into a therapist and opening up about the things that have happened in my life the last 26 years and try and figure out, why am I the way I am? Why do I think the way I think? And it was the most empowering decision I've ever made, and it was the best decision I've ever made because I think that self-awareness is so underrated. I underrated it before I really understood the power of it, where now I know myself so well that when I see myself having negative self-talk and kind of going down that rabbit hole, I know how to stop it. So I want to let you guys in on that a little bit because, like I said, our words are so much more than just words. And this time last year, I had this business idea. I had everything pretty much in place, and I would work on it, get super inspired and excited, and then something would happen and I would stop working on it. I would want nothing to do with it, leave it alone for a couple weeks, sometimes months, and then go back to it, and then I would stop again. And so when I started therapy, that was really one of the main reasons I did, because it was like, why? I know that I'm so passionate about this, but for some reason, that passion only goes so far. There's some blockage there that's not allowing me to push further. And we really started diving into this concept of self-talk. And what it boiled down to is I was being such a perfectionist, and I wasn't handling my anxiety and stress around business well. Instead, I was being so hard on myself that if I made something that I didn't like, instead of me trying again, it would be me subconsciously telling myself I'm not creative enough. Or when I was overwhelmed with trying to build a website, it's like, oh, I'm not smart enough. Or when it came to trying to scale a business, it's like, I don't know enough about business. And it was these little negative seeds that were planted in my mind that were so powerful that it stopped me from pursuing my passion and something that I know is my purpose. And so I really had to learn, how do I identify when I'm thinking those negative things? How do I stop it because I know it's not true? And that was the most empowering thing. I know it's not true. I don't know as much about business as I want to, but I can learn. I'm not creative when it comes to drawing and graphic design like I'd like to be, but I can learn, and I can be creative in other aspects, and I can surround myself with people that are more creative than me, that are smarter than me, that know more about business than I do. And me surrounding myself around them isn't because I'm dumb. It's because I know where my weaknesses are, and I want to surround myself around people that are better than me in those aspects. And it was just really powerful for me to wrap my mind around that and learn that. And so I've realized now, even in quarantine, that I've had a handful of days where I feel that negative self-talk coming back. So as I was getting ready to launch this business, quarantine happened, COVID-19 happened. And so we came to Arizona from New York. And I kept saying like, okay, once quarantine is over, then I'll launch the business. And once I'm ready, then I'll launch it. And I started reading this book called Everything is Figureoutable by Marie Forleo. If you haven't read it, you should. It's amazing. And there's a chapter in there about starting before you're ready. And it just hit me. And I realized like, I just need to launch. There's never going to be a perfect time. I'm never going to feel prepared. So I just need to go for it. And that's why I set a date, I launched, and I'm just rocking with it. Even though a lot of the time it can be overwhelming. A lot of the time I don't have everything figured out, but I'm determined to be able to figure it out because it's important to me. And I'm not going to allow that self-talk to hinder any more of my success. And I think outside of business, you can use this same concept of negative self-talk in every other aspect of your life. Like, don't allow it to take over any more of your emotional energy or hinder you anymore. Like, I let that happen for so long. And now that I'm kind of on the other side of it, I want people to feel that freedom because it really is powerful. And so, like I had said, therapy had taught me self-awareness like I had never known before. And self-awareness is key. It's really important to understand yourself. And that's in every aspect. And so while I've even been here for the last 2 months, I've been totally off my routine, and I almost treated it like a vacation for the first couple weeks, especially because I didn't think it would last this long. And then was having more and more of those days where I just felt like I'm struggling. And I had to identify one of the biggest reasons why I was struggling is because I didn't feel that sense of purpose. I didn't have my routine. I wasn't setting myself up for success. And so it was really overwhelming in the day when I'm trying to accomplish all of these things and be busy when I didn't have a plan. And I think right now in quarantine, we're all on social media way more than we normally are. And there's almost this culture of productivity that is being portrayed, that everybody's super busy and using this time to work out 5 hours a day and meal prep and still work and get all of this stuff done, which, don't get me wrong, I think is great, which if you can keep up with that and still have your mental health in check, good for you. But there's not a one size fits all here. And I think that comparison culture is at an all-time high because most of the day we're sitting with our phones in our hands looking at what everybody else is doing, which can be really damaging. And it was really damaging for me. And I had to identify that I was doing that I was just sitting there and comparing myself and comparing my productivity and my workouts, and the list goes on and on and on. So I realized that I'm a creature of habit. I'm a creature of routine. I need to structure my days and set myself up in order to be successful and to feel fulfilled, even when we're on quarantine. So for me personally, I know that when I wake up, which I need to set an alarm because I'm not a morning person. Like if it was up to me, I probably would get out of bed at like 11 every day, which all you early birds are rolling your eyes at me right now. I know, but that's the truth. So I've been setting an alarm trying to get up at 8:30. I get up. I do not check my Instagram or my email. That is so important because the second I start checking on what everybody else is doing or who's emailed me or what I need to be doing with my day, I'm instantly stressed. And it starts your mind to just start wandering to all these different places when you've just woken up. And for me personally, I just knew that I needed to eliminate that at least for the first 30 minutes of my day. So I get up, I grab some coffee, go outside, and I've been doing my Bible study and I've been doing meditation, and that's been really, really important to start my day. I've been more grounded. I feel like I have a little bit more control, which I think control is something that I've always struggled with, and that's where a lot of my anxiety comes from, because if you really think about it, we have control over pretty much nothing. And I'm a control freak. I would love control over everything. So I realized that I need to take control of the things that I can control, which I can control how I wake up. I can control what I do for the first hour of my day. After that, I really have no control. I don't know what's going to come into my email. I have no control over what everybody else is going to be doing out in the world. I have no control over when our country is going to open back up. I have no control when it comes to my job. And so I really had to come to peace with that and just be like, okay, you're going to control what you can control. And then after that, you just need to learn to like go with the flow. So that's been really important for me. I also think it's important to plan your workout, whether that is yoga, whether that is a walk, whether that's a fun boxing workout. For me personally, I love Melissa Wood Health. I love the Sculpt Society. And I've been doing a lot of like Instagram live workouts, like boxing workouts on Rumble, or my girlfriend Callie does some really cool workouts, and something that's going to excite me. So listen to your body that day and move in a way that feels good for you, but move, because a lot of us are kind of sitting throughout the day. And again, for me personally, if I don't get up and get moving, most likely I'm not going to do it later, because I will come up with every excuse in the book as to how I don't have time, how I don't feel like it, how I'm taking the day off, whatever the excuse is. So I learned that it's important for me to take control, to have a workout in the first 2 hours of my day. And after that, I can shower, which is an important thing in quarantine. Take a shower, make yourself feel good, do your skincare routine. You don't need to put up makeup every day, but like, I think it's important to be able to make yourself feel good in the beginning of the day, because I've had plenty of days where I've gone until late in the afternoon. It's like, I haven't even washed my face today. I haven't changed out of my pajamas, which for vacation, amazing. For Some days, amazing. But I think in order to set yourself up for success for most days, Monday through Friday, while we're on quarantine, it's important to make yourself feel good because you carry yourself much differently throughout the day. At least that's my experience. So wash your face, make yourself feel good, go put a nice little jade roller on your skin, wakes yourself right up, make a healthy breakfast. Which is another thing that I've noticed a big shift in, is that I wasn't planning my meals. And not that when we're not on quarantine that I really plan what I'm eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But for the first couple weeks that we were here in Arizona, I'm having cookies for breakfast and having lunch way too late and dinner way too late, and was just not feeling good physically. And I think that that's an important thing too, is that like we have to take control of our physical health just as much as our mental and emotional health during this time. The three need to work together, because if one of those is off balance, you're not going to be functioning at your highest level. And not that I'm saying every single day, like you need to be pushing yourself. And if you are having an off day, mentally, emotionally, or physically, listen to that. That's the biggest lesson that I learned last week when I was telling you guys on my Instagram stories that I was just having an off day. And I tried to do all these different things to change my mentality, to change my mood, and it just wasn't working. And that day needed to just be an off day. I needed to just handle my emotions, understand what was happening, and be okay with that. You know, you don't always have to push through everything. This is an unprecedented time. There's no rule book on how we're supposed to be handling ourselves. So if you're having an off day, it's okay to let those be off days. It's okay to just really take care of yourself. Again, if those are happening more often than not, then it's getting to a point that it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay there. So that comes the point where maybe it's reaching out for some help. Maybe you need to talk to a loved one about how you're feeling. Maybe you need to stop spending so much time on social media. Maybe you need to sign up for therapy. There's so many different online therapies that you can do right now. I know for me, I haven't seen my girl in 3 months and I miss her, but I know that if I needed to, I could schedule a FaceTime with her, a FaceTime session if I needed to. Which I think that also helps me because I know that I've already established that in place. So I don't want you to take my message and say that if you are dealing with anxiety or depression, or you are really struggling with negative self-talk right now, you don't have all the tools to pull yourself out of that slump. And that's okay. That's why we need to surround ourselves with loved ones. So please don't take this message and think that if you just listen to what I'm saying and apply all these self-care tips that you're going to feel like an entirely different person if you're truly struggling with depression or anxiety. So I'm not pretending that I'm a doctor, and I know that sometimes it takes more than just listening to podcasts to heal your mental health, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I know that I just threw a ton of information at you guys, but I just wanted to be honest and open about kind of what I've been going through, where my head is at, where my heart is at, and kind of the focus I've been putting on my own mental health. And I hope that this inspires you to focus on your mental health right now too, and just know that we are all in this together. Nobody is alone right now. And I really want to keep building the More Than community to be strong women that are also okay with being vulnerable with one another. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. If you want to connect with some other like-minded women, go check out the More Than community. We're continuing to build more and more every day, and I appreciate the support so much. I think More Than has been one of the main things that have kept me really positive and inspired and motivated during this time. So I cannot thank you enough for your support. I hope you guys liked this episode, and we'll be back with another guest next week. So make sure you rate and review, and I'll see you guys soon. Welcome back to the I Am More Than podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Wessel. I'm a former Miss Arizona USA professional model and founder of More Than Inc. This week's episode is going to be a solo. I'm diving into all things mental health, negative self-talk, and quarantine routines. It's a packed episode with a lot of really good tips and tricks that you can apply to your own life. So let's go ahead and dive in.